3 weeks ago, this rhino was carrying 2,000 ticks. The rains have come since then. The grass in this valley is up past her knees, and almost every blade of it is holding something that is waiting for her blood. She is nearly blind. She cannot reach any part of her own back, and the 11 birds that used to work her body from morning to dusk now have chicks in a hollow tree. This is the season when the arrangement stops covering its costs. Have you ever seen an animal get help and still fall further behind? By dark tonight, she will be carrying more ticks than she was at sunrise. It will be the first time in her adult life that a day has ended that way. This is what she is waiting for. A bird walks into her right ear and disappears, and the most dangerous land animal in Africa does not move a muscle. She will charge a vehicle for coming too close. She will not blink with a bill inside her ear. In July, she got a whole day of this. Today, she will get 20 minutes. Her name is Mosi. She is a 14-year-old black rhino, and she has lived in this valley long enough to have learned every hard surface in it. Her calf is 10 months old now. It no longer walks behind her. It walks at her shoulder, where it can feel her change direction, because in grass this height, it cannot see her legs. Half a mile away, in the hollow branch of a dead acacia, the other half of this story is also having a difficult month. 11 red-billed and yellow-billed oxpeckers nest in that tree. 7 of them are feeding chicks. A chick in that hollow opens its mouth every 4 minutes, and the sound does not stop when the parent leaves. The birds that keep Mosi alive have something else to keep alive first. Nothing about that is a betrayal. It is the order in which a flock pays its own bills. The rains changed this valley in 9 days. The cracked pan is green. The seasonal channel is running.
Water stands in every hoofprint, and there is not one dry surface left between the escarpment and the reed beds. Morning light comes through low cloud instead of clear sky. The air is warm and completely still. Mosi is already feeding, pulling green shoots off a stand of low bush with her hooked upper lip. The calf works the same bush from the other side. Nothing on this landscape hunts a healthy adult rhino for food. That has never been her problem. Her problem is that she cannot see. A black rhino's eyes are set on the sides of a head that weighs more than a grown man, and they resolve almost nothing past 20 feet. In the dry season, that gap was survivable because the ground was open and the air carried scent for half a mile. This morning, the grass stands higher than the calf's back. So she listens, and she smells. Both of those are worse today than they were a month ago. Wet air holds scent close to the ground instead of carrying it. Rain on leaves fills the whole valley with small sounds that mean nothing. The 2 senses she survives on have been quietly turned down, and nothing about that is visible in the footage. And the grass is not just cover. On the tip of a blade beside her front foot, a tick larva is standing with its front legs raised and held apart. It is the size of a grain of sand. It has been in that position for 11 days. It has never fed in its life. It is waiting for something warm to walk past, and the largest warm thing in this valley is a rhino. It is not alone on that blade. When a tick lays eggs, it lays them in thousands in one place, and the larvae that hatch stay together in a clump on a single stem. A rhino brushing that stem does not pick up 1 tick. It picks up 200. They come off the grass in a sheet onto the leg, and they start walking upward before the leg has finished moving. Mosi feeds through that grass for 4 hours. She is not careless. There is no version of this morning where she does not walk through it, because the green shoots she needs are growing out of the same stems the larvae are standing on. The food and the parasite arrived in the same week, on the same rain. There is no way to eat in this valley without collecting them, and there is no version of this season in which she stops eating. They end up where they always end up, the skin behind her ears, the crease under her jaw, the folds behind her front legs. the rim of the eye where the skin is thinner than paper. A rhino looks armored, and it is, everywhere except the places where the armor has to bend. In the dry season, those seams were warm and damp. Now they are wet all day and never close to drying. Softened skin tears at a quarter of the force. Every mouthpart that goes into her this month goes in easier than it would have in June. And she is not starting this season clean. She is carrying 3 open wounds. A puncture under the ribs from a border fight 6 weeks ago. A tear along the left flank that the birds have been keeping open since before the rains. A split at the base of the right ear that she has never once seen. In wet air, none of the 3 is closing. A wound on a rhino in the dry season turns to hard gray crust in 9 days. In the rains, it stays soft, and soft is another word for open. Around the punctures, biting flies gather in numbers she has no way to reduce. They lay eggs at the edge of the wet tissue. The ticks take blood slowly, and the flies take skin. And neither of them is what will kill her. What they do is drain her a little every day, in a season when she needs everything she has for the calf. She tries. There is mud on every square foot of this valley now, which sounds like the answer and is not. Mud only works on a rhino when it dries. Wet mud slides off her flanks in minutes and takes nothing with it. She rubs her shoulder against a marula trunk. In July, that bark came away in sheets and took ticks with it. Today, the trunk is wet and her hide slides across it without gripping. She leans harder, and the tree moves instead of the parasites. She kicks at her own right ear with a hind foot and misses, the way she always misses. In the dry season, she would grind the side of her jaw into hard sand. There is no hard sand left in this valley. There is mud, and standing water, and grass. Every tool she used 4 weeks ago is out of service at exactly the same time. So she does what her mother did, in a season her mother also could not fix. She stops working on the problem. She walks out to the edge of the open ground, where a rhino can be seen from the air. She stands still, and she waits to be found. The first bird comes in from the dead acacia and lands on her withers. One bird. It does not go to her ears. It goes straight to the flank wound, feeds for 90 seconds, and lifts off toward the tree again.
Within a minute, there are 6. In the dry season, there were 11, and they stayed. 6 is what this valley can send her while there are chicks in that hollow. She has no way to know the difference between 6 and 11. She only knows the work has started, and she does not move. The 5 that are missing are on feeding runs. A parent oxpecker leaves the nest, works a host for 2 or 3 minutes, and carries the load back. It does that between 20 and 30 times before midday. Every trip to the nest is a trip away from her body. The alliance that saved her calf in the dry season is currently operating at half strength, and nobody on either side negotiated that. The 6 that came are the older birds. The ears go to them, the way they always have. A juvenile from last season tries the crease under her jaw, gets pushed off it twice, and settles for picking at dead skin on her shoulder where it cannot do much good.
Age decides who works the valuable ground, and this month there are not enough adults to cover it. One bird walks into her right ear and disappears. Mosi's ear folds forward and stays there. A second bird works the lower rim of her eye, one wing braced against her cheek. The most dangerous land animal in Africa stands with 2 birds inside the openings of its head and does not move a muscle. The work runs for 20 minutes. Her tail stops swinging. Her breathing lengthens. Then the bird in her ear comes out, climbs to her spine, and flies for the acacia, and 4 of the others go with it. They are not finished. They are out of time. This is the part that has never happened to her before. The job stops in the middle, not because of a predator, not because of a rival, but because 7 chicks in a hollow branch are louder than her need. She stands in the open for another 6 minutes, waiting for a flock that is already gone. By mid-morning, the arithmetic has turned over.
The birds took maybe 400 ticks off her body today. She picked up more than that before 10 o'clock, standing in the grass she has to eat. At no point in the dry season did she end a cleaning with more parasites than she started with. Today, it happens before the morning is over, and there is no way for her to know it happened at all. The calf is in worse shape than she is. Its hide is 10 months old and half the thickness of hers. It has never been through a wet season. There is a ring of engorged ticks around its left eye, and it has begun to hold that eye half closed, which, in this grass, costs it more than the ticks do. It tries to fix it the way calves do. It pushes its face against its mother's shoulder and drags it downward. Mosi lets it. The rubbing removes nothing and takes the skin off the top of its muzzle. The only thing on this landscape that can clear that eye weighs less than an ounce and is currently in a tree, feeding something else. The calf has no arrangement of its own yet. It borrows its mother's, and this month there is not enough of it left to borrow. There are 2 birds left on her back when the grass changes. In the dry season, a sentinel oxpecker would have been standing upright on her withers, facing outward, with 10 others to relieve it. Today, the 2 that remain are both head down in the flank wound, and the sound of rain on leaves is covering everything below 40 feet. The alarm call comes late. It is the right call, given by the right bird in the right direction. It is simply 4 seconds later than it would have been in July. And 40 feet out, 3 lionesses are already spread through grass that hides all 3 of them completely. Mosi turns her whole body toward the sound. She cannot see them. She cannot smell them because the wet air is holding their scent flat against the ground.
What she has is a direction and a distance, delivered by a bird, and 4 seconds less than she needs. She charges anyway, 1.5 tons at a sound in the grass. On the 3rd stride, her back foot goes out from under her in soft mud, and her hindquarters drop. In July, this same charge would have covered 50 feet in under 3 seconds. Today it covers 20, and she fights the ground for the rest of it. A rhino's charge was never really about speed. It is about arriving before the other animal has finished deciding, and the mud has just taken that away from her. And in those seconds, the calf is on the wrong side of her. It does what every calf does when the mother moves suddenly in cover. It runs the way she was standing, not the way she went. 15 feet of tall grass is now between them, and a lioness is closer to it than she is. She comes back.
She does not finish the charge she started. She abandons it, and she swings her head hard as she turns so that the front horn cuts an arc through the grass at the height of a lion's shoulder. The calf finds her flank and stays glued to it. The nearest lioness tests the calf's side once. She takes 2 steps in and stops, because she has seen what the horn is doing, and she is measuring whether Mosi will leave the calf to chase her. Mosi does not leave the calf. She turns the whole body instead, keeping the calf against her ribs, and drives at the sound without ever going more than a few feet from it. The 2 birds went up the moment she moved. They are in the acacia now, 8 feet up, facing the grass. One of them is still calling. It has no reason to keep calling, and it does it anyway, because a host that dies in the grass this month costs the flock a feeding station it cannot replace before the chicks fledge. 4 seconds does not sound like a price.
In July, the warning arrived while the lionesses were still deciding. Today, it arrived while they were already moving. And the difference between those 2 mornings is the 15 feet of grass that opened between a rhino and her calf. The mud took the rest. The lionesses break off after 2 minutes, not because they are beaten, but because an adult rhino with a calf pressed to her ribs is the most expensive thing in this valley to be wrong about. They move off through the grass, and the grass closes behind them, and Mosi stands with her head up and no idea where they went. She never located them herself. Not at the start, not during, not now. Every piece of information she acted on this morning came from a bird that was busy with something else. The warning was not wrong. It was late, and it was late for a reason that has nothing to do with her. The flock comes back out of the acacia, 3 birds this time. They land on her back while she is still breathing hard, and the unfinished work continues exactly where it left off. But something in the arrangement has moved with the weather, and it is worth watching closely. The first bird down does not go to her ears, or her jaw, or the folds behind her legs. It goes to the tear on her left flank, sets its feet on either side of the opening, and works the edge of it with a scissoring motion of the bill. There is a reason it chose that. A wet season tick is small and hard to find in softened skin, nothing like a dry season adult swollen tight with blood. An open wound is the richest thing a bird can reach on this landscape, and it takes no searching at all. When the work gets harder and the time gets shorter, a flock does not work harder. It takes the cheapest calories available. And this month, the cheapest calories in the valley are Mosi. The bill widens the edge of the scab, and the tissue underneath starts to bleed.
A second bird lands beside the first and feeds from the same opening. Mosi does not move. In 14 years, she has never once driven a bird off a wound. Standing still is the only behavior she has for any of this, and it does not distinguish between the bird taking a tick out of her ear and the bird drinking from her side. For the first time, the arithmetic does not come out in her favor. 400 parasites removed, at least as many picked up in the grass she has to eat. 3 wounds held open instead of closing. 1 warning delivered 4 seconds late. On any day in July, this ledger closed with her ahead, and she has nothing else to turn to. There is no other animal here that will clean the inside of her ears. There is no surface left that will scour her hide. A bad deal that is the only deal stops being a deal at all and becomes a condition, like the rain. The agreement between these 2 animals did not change this month. The price of everything around it did. Nature does not renegotiate with the animal that is losing. It only keeps sending the bill. By midday, the heat has come up under the cloud, and the whole valley is steaming. The wallow she used all through the dry season is not a wallow now. It is a shallow lake with grass growing out of the edges of it. She walks into the shoulder and lies down on her side anyway. The habit is 14 years old. She rolls once, gets her back coated, and stands up gray and dripping. And then nothing happens. In July, that coating would have set into a hard shell inside 40 minutes, and it would have taken a layer of parasites with it when it cracked and fell away. Today, it runs off her flanks in long streaks before she has walked 30 feet. Wet mud is not armor. It is water with dirt in it. This is the part almost nobody thinks through. Mud does not protect a rhino by being wet. It protects by drying, gripping what is under it, and coming off in pieces.
The dry season handed her that every single day. The wet season gives her unlimited mud and removes the only step that mattered. So she does the one thing left to do. She walks a quarter of a mile to an old termite mound where the clay is packed hard, and she grinds her flank into it. It works in a limited way. The clay is coarse enough to scrape her ribs and her shoulder raw, and it cannot reach one single place that matters. Not the inside of the ear, not the crease under the jaw, not the rim of the eye. She leaves that mound cleaner across the broad, flat surfaces of her body, which is exactly where she was never in trouble. Rain starts again in the middle of the afternoon and puts an end to the clay. Mosi stands under a stand of thorn, with her head lowered and water running off her. The calf shelters against her front leg. No bird will land on a soaking animal in falling rain, and the two of them wait it out with nothing to do. By late afternoon, the rain stops and the third cleaning of the day begins. 2 birds. They work for 11 minutes, and they are efficient, and 11 minutes of 2 birds on a body this size is a gesture rather than a solution. She stands for every one of those minutes. Then she is out in the open at the hour when lions move, with grass to her shoulder, seeing less than she has seen at any point in her adult life. There is no sentinel on her withers. There is one juvenile picking at her spine with its back turned to the valley. At dusk, the flock leaves for the reed beds, and the chicks in the acacia stop calling. Night is the 11 hours in which nothing on this landscape helps her. She feeds in the dark, by ear and by scent, in air so wet that neither one carries. The calf presses into her flank and keeps its bad eye closed. Nothing comes for them tonight, and that is luck, not strategy. Count what actually changed today. She was cleaned 3 times, and she is dirtier than she was at dawn. She was warned once, correctly, 4 seconds late. She kept the calf. Her 3 wounds are wider tonight than they were this morning, and 2 of them were opened by the animals that keep her alive. And there is one number moving the other way. In 10 days, the chicks in that hollow branch will fledge. 7 parents will stop making feeding runs, and 7 juveniles will start learning the body of a rhino. The flock that works her will roughly double, in a valley where the grass will still be full of ticks. She cannot know that, and she does not need to. She only has to still be standing when it happens. Nothing here was ever given freely. The birds do not work for her. They work on her. And this month, they work on her in both senses of the phrase, and she stands still for all of it. Because standing still is the only thing that has ever paid. Darkness comes in fast, the way it does this close to the equator. Mosi turns into the wind and starts feeding again, the calf at her shoulder where it can feel her move. She still cannot see 20 feet. The grass will be higher tomorrow. 1 more day earned. And in a season that takes more than it gives, 1 more day is still the only thing there has ever been to win.